Manchester United outcast Jadon Sancho has sent a clear message to Ineos and Erik ten Hag as he inspired Borussia Dortmund to a 1-0 win over Paris Saint-Germain in the semi-final of the UEFA Champions League. Welcome to the United Sport, guys. I do remind you, please, to first of all subscribe to this channel because we've realized that many of you watch our videos, but a very few of you subscribe, guys. It's very important for the growth of this channel to only get better. Please subscribe, but also like the videos and share them on so that other people can find them. Thank you. Let's get into it. So Jadon Sancho, we do recall he's on loan to Borussia Dortmund, where he came from, to join Manchester United for so much money, nearly 60 million pounds. Now, it did not start well for him, and the naysayers were happy, saying Ten Hag is vindicated on Sancho. Ten Hag is vindicated, but it is clear now that Sancho is changing his story. That's what I keep saying. Never write off a young player. So Jadon Sancho was balling as Borussia Dortmund shocked Paris Saint-Germain, beating them by a goal to nil. He was making dribbles for fun. He made 7 successful dribbles in a single game. That's more than he's made in probably the 50 or so games he has played for Manchester United since joining. So it was a very shocking performance from him that is leaving everyone, legends and fans alike, thinking, should this boy be brought back to this struggling Man United? Del Piero, that's the Italian legend, in his analysis of the game was saying such a player at this level should be playing at Man United consistently. No disrespect to Borussia Dortmund, but he should be in a bigger team. United needs him. Rio Ferdinand was also shocked by the performance of Jadon Sancho. Now, the reality is Sancho has always been a good player. When his head is right, he plays good football. And Erik ten Hag has said it clearly that Sancho was never sent away because of his inability to play good football. He says the quality is known. That's why he's a United player. That's why they paid so much money for him under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But the issues with Sancho are to do with his character, his personality, his ways, his behaviors. And that's where the problem is with Erik ten Hag. For a manager who was brought in to set standards, if a player, however good they are, does not bend to your standards, does not feel he's below you, he feels more important than you are, however good they are, as a manager, you've got to make a decision. So with Erik ten Hag, it has been mostly about Sancho's personality, Sancho's character, and the way he carries himself at the club, the way he doesn't listen, he doesn't respond. You remember, how he was going, back and forth with him on Twitter. So I see people trying to make it look like Ten Hag sent Sancho away because he's not a good footballer. Whereas what he said, I think actually the statement he made about him not training at the best levels was perhaps mostly for him to push him to his best. You can look at it that way. But also, it's possible that Erik ten Hag was scapegoating him to try and give reason for him to play Anthony, to play his Anthony, who he bought. And Sancho perhaps says, no, said, me, I'm not taking this. I'm not, this. I see these talented players are always proud. They will know that I am good. If I'm good, I'm good. If you're playing a bad player ahead of me and you then go out to say I'm the problem, I will not allow it. That perhaps that's the thing with Sancho. But that said, Ineos now have a decision to make because you don't struggle the way Man United is struggling, and your two best players are away on loan in Sancho and Mason Greenwood, both wingers. You need wingers. You don't have money, and you fail to make a decision. So Man United and Ineos might have then now to make a decision because if you say you have bad players, but you have a Sancho who I don't think is easy to sell in this summer, it's very difficult to get a club that will match what Man United is paying him. He's earning nearly £350,000 per week. Perhaps United, he's a very expensive player. He should be a 50 million plus player. Not so many clubs you feel around will be able to match that. So chances are he has got a long contract running. Chances are United might be stuck with him. So what then do they do? They keep him on loan for a further 1 year and still pay the bigger portion of his wages because not so many clubs will be willing to take him and meet the wages that is earning. Or will they be lucky and find a buyer that even the player would want to join? Will Borussia Dortmund, say, for example, if they reach the Champions League final and win, or perhaps win the title, will they then now say, okay, let us buy him back? So there's all that, and Ineos have got a decision on themselves. They've got now to make a decision on this boy because the reality is Sancho deserves to be playing football in a happy space. I think if Erik ten Hag, in the event that Erik ten Hag doesn't stay as manager, which is 50-50, it's likely or unlikely, it's 50-50. If he doesn't start as manager, it will be easy for Sancho to return and play football. And it will be actually a different atmosphere for him. He will be more motivated to prove to the world that, I wasn't the problem. It was this guy actually who was failing me. But if Eric Ten Hag stays, then it will be difficult for Ineos to bring back Sancho. Because what then do you mean if you're trying to give a manager a good working space, a good atmosphere to perform, and then you bring back his public enemy, number one, the same player he sacrificed to make his statement, and you're forcing him to have him. It will be difficult to deal with that. So it's always going to be a difficult thing to deal with. But I think if Ineos move on from Eric Ten Hag, Sancho will return to Man United. If they choose to stick with Eric Ten Hag, Sancho will be sold or he will stay on loan for another year. And again, as they continue to monitor Eric Ten Hag's situation, if it's not well, Ten Hag leaves, Sancho can return. Because the beauty is he has got a long contract, and if he's not really one of those easiest players for you to let go of. But again, as Ineos said, they will be listening to offers for any player. If Sancho gets an interested party who will bid for him and table decent money, because he was bought for what? Is it nearly 70 or 72 million or thereabout? Or I think 62, 65, 62 million. He was bought for a lot of money. So if United gets someone who can try to match that, and a club that Sancho too, because even the player has got to agree to play for that team, then perhaps they can let go of him. But for me, I look at this squad. Let's look at Sancho and what he would add to the Man United squad. The reality is we all know how good Sancho is. Man United needs an exciting attack. I think for me, Sancho can have a role to play at this United team in a better setup with say because Greenwood looks likely to leave. So you bring back Sancho and let him be pushing the rest of the wingers because he loves to fly in from the left like Garnacho. Him and Garnacho can push each other because they are players who should, I think, on a good day be close to the same level. Or probably Sancho has even proven before that he could even be better than Garnacho. His levels, I think the peak Sancho got to before he joined United was higher than Garnacho has ever been at. So he should be a top player, but the situation and the usage of him will determine because again we cannot frustrate a developing Garnacho. So if Sancho returned at Man United, are you then going to keep Garnacho playing on the right because maybe Greenwood won't come? But also it could be a solution. Sancho could be part of the solution because United has got, because obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, Sancho is proving to be a better, more promising, important player than Marcus Rashford, for example. So if Sancho returned, Rashford left, he can directly go to the left. Garnacho will still play good on the right, Højlund up top. I think still we can build something exciting with those players like that. But again, it has to go back to Sancho's attitude. Will he be able to put in these performances day in and day out consistently, keep his head up and perform consistently? Because again, he might be a player who plays in moments, but also he might be have been rejected by the Premier League because these good performances have not been seen at Man United. He played 58 games for Man United. I don't think we can recall a single game where Sancho gave anything close to what we saw. So could it be that the Premier League levels are not for him or the style of the Premier League is not for him? And we might cry about him performing well at Borussia Dortmund, but perhaps he was rejected by the English Premier League because there are players like that who are good, but the Premier League is not for them. It's also possible. So the whole Sancho situation needs a lot of, a lot of meticulousness to handle. They need to look at it meticulously with a microscope. Ineos need to look at him with a microscope because he's a young player, that is one. He's extremely expensive, that is two. He can be an important player, three, but also he can be a very dangerous player to bring back into the team at Manchester United with whatever Ineos is trying to build. So they need a microscope, a serious microscope to scan into him because he might also, most important before, be a player who could give Ineos a big chunk of the money they want for the transfer window and be able to go into the market and sign some other good players because he's a high-profile player who could even win the Champions League. That, again, would raise his profile extremely highly. So that's a very important and tricky situation that Ineos are finding themselves in. So that's where we are with Jadon Sancho. Well, whether he will return or not, and you can go into the comment section and tell me whether you think Sancho should be brought back with or without Eric Ten Hag or not? What would be the cost of him being there? But what I see is it's possible that his attitude is not easy. His personality is not an easy personality to deal with. So there's also that risk that Ineos have got to look into. My name is Webb. This is the United Hotspot. Have a good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I'll catch you later.